The remains of the 10 men stood on tressels above the ground where they had lain buried for 80 years, just inside the granite walls that witnessed their burials 4 decades before. Governor John Lonergan said it was right that the men should now be reburied outside the prison.
It is a historic day, and I think it's the right decision to have those men released after 80 years.
Relatives of each man carried the coffins to waiting hearses and then followed in procession as, accompanied by the tolling of the bell that once announced the executions themselves, the officers of the prison formed a guard of honour. In the city centre, members of the FCA lined O'Connell Street as the Army No. 1 band led contingents of the Army, Air Corps and Naval Service to the GPO, where, watched by thousands of people, an honour guard of Army cadets presented arms and a lone piper played a lament. At the Pro-Cathedral, President McAleese, members of the Oireachtas and different religious dominations joined relatives for requiem mass. The 10 coffins were placed in line abreast before the altar.
In this mass we commend our souls to God, and we commit their bodily remains to consecrated earth, in which they will await the resurrection. And we do not forget that young men died also on the British side, and we commend their souls to God also.
After Mass, the 10 coffins were escorted to the Garden of Remembrance in Parnell Square, where they stood for a minute's silence. At Glasnevin Cemetery, the coffins were undraped and placed in the ground for the burial service and graveside oration by the Taoiseach.
The Good Friday Agreement has moved us to a new stage in our history, but that certainly does not mean we forget or repudiate those who founded our state. This state has abolished the death penalty and lives by the rule of law. There is neither need nor excuse for the extrajudicial use of force by anyone today. The same is true of Northern Ireland and beyond dispute since the Good Friday Agreement.
Finally, the firing party rendered honours and the last post sounded. Colm Connolly, RTE News.